Hi there, we're back in the repair shed and I'm about to make a homemade pendulum for this clock, unless I have some parts for it, but we'll see what parts we have and we'll work through this and we'll make kind of a makeshift pendulum. Let's get the clock running. There she goes. Alright, so let's go to it. So what have I done so far is I made just a little nail here, and it places up in here because it fits in the already made up little U-shaped holder. So I've decided to use that as the pin. Now the pin needs something around it, like a little tube, so that the pendulum can move in and out plus left and right, which I'm going to show right now. But first, I took a old, radio aerial and snipped off a little piece of tube and then bended it out like that. So the opening came, and then filed it and made it exactly the distance in between here. So now we have a tube and it's also filed down to be brass so I can solder on it. And now with this tweezers, I can get this in there and we'll have the basis for the pendulum to swing on. So I got the tube here. Just place it in this. Doesn't really need to be ticking. Now it won't stop. And then put the nail through it. And we have the basis for a pendulum to move back and forth, and then it'll swing this way later on. We'll work that out with the spring. So there's the first little bit. Close up, you have the tube, and your pendulum can move in and out. And then down below we'll put a spring in, and that spring will make this thing go back and forth. So there's the start of my mechanism. Don't really need the clock ticking, but hey, it's running. Yes, so I have the actual clock working, but as you can see, if you look here closely, it's lifting here. So I bent just the copper wire around this here and down, and it's actually working quite nicely, but I have no spring load in here yet. I have to put a spring in between here to make this work, because this nail is actually what's moving up and down, which is incorrect. And if you pressed on this, it would stop. So at the moment it needs a spring load in here somewhere, which I have to make up or solder in. But we got the first step done. So basically we have a nail, a bit of a radio aerial, which creates this in and out movement, and a nail, a radio, and then electric copper wire, which was easy to shape and easy to flex to the right positioning. Now I got to get a spring in here somehow nicely. Got to think about that for a while. So what I'm going to do here is I'm soldering this little pin across to hold the spring for the pendulum, and then I'll cut it afterwards, and then I got to put the other side to connect it up, and this pipe is for the nail, which needs to be soldered on as well. Everything has got to be fairly straight, but we'll see how it goes. I got a board behind just to help me show you it on video. I'll take it away now, and what we're going to do is just solder that up, our usual thing with the solder and a little brush and all that kind of stuff. Flux. Now we've already taken the varnish off the copper wire, so it won't get in the way. Now everything's looking pretty straight. It's not ideal, but let's just hope it works. Now you've seen me solder many times, so I'll just quickly show you. I put the gun, it's caught up a bit. I put the gun in a flux here, once she heats up. And then kind of that's it. All it's got to do is have a bit of flux on there, a bit of solder. Should have air blowing to take the smoke away, but for the sake of chatting, now this needs to be pretty straight, so the copper wire will take it pretty quick. That should do it. I just got to do where the nail goes through here. I need that to be fairly straight. I think I'd be able to bend that afterwards, so let's do that. Nail top. Come on, there she takes. Bit more flux. That's on. It's a little blobby, but I'm not too worried at the moment. Let's see how it works first, right? So I've got this all working. I did use a spring out of my little bag I got from, I think it's Temu or Amazon. I got these little springs. I got a box of them. There we go, a box of springs. They're inside there. And I've used one of them up here. I made this little hook around the tube and soldered on, and then I soldered this tin piece on. But right in here you can see movement, which is a problem. I'll just show you on my, I have to get my cell phone to show that close up, I think. So that's okay. You can see this shaft here moving, and that little platform moving as well. The little top of the spring is moving, and this is moving as well. And I most likely solder them in so they can't do that. That way the spring takes over more. I think there's too much movement there. I want the spring to be doing the swaying. But it looks like it's going to work pretty good. I'll leave that run for a while and see if it does. Looks a little messy, but it's working. Yeah, the wire, this copper wire needs to come down straight here in the end, but there's not much in it. It's going around the face. Everything seems to be in tune. Long if my face goes on in front of this, I'll be okay. If it clears it, it might not. Something I haven't looked into yet. I'm just trying to show you how to do the clock first. And the homemade pendulum. There's another view of what I've done. I made a little, get this out of the way, made a little bracket up here, soldered onto this copper wire that went around the pipe. I put a pinhole through with just a pointy dowel here I have. But down below I flattened the copper wire, and I drilled a hole through the copper wire with a very fine drill to actually pin it onto the spring. So that's how I did all that. And she's running nicely, but this sway isn't exactly what I want. But if it runs, maybe I should leave it. We'll see. So here she is running. It has a little movement in here. Very slight on the pin. But here in this coupling it has movement, which is kind of flexing back and forth as you, hang on, I get my pin in there. There. See that movement in the air? I'm not too sure about that, but at the moment she's running better than before. And I have it more straight down now. I've bent the wire a bit. And the two wires are not touching here, so that's good. Anyways, we're just going to leave it run like that for a while and see how she goes. Everything seems to be working great. And as you can see, let me get this there. You can see that that goes back and forth in the center of the pin, hitting both sides of that, the holder, which is actually activating it, the pendulum. But when the weight's on the pendulum, slows it down or speeds it up. That's pretty good now. So here's my pendulum fitting, and see the brass bar comes down with the hook. Now I can put that hook up a little or down, but I might make an adjustable pendulum. This one doesn't adjust very well. We'll see. I don't know how it's going to hold time at the moment. It's looking pretty good. But as you can see, I added this little hook on here. So basically, and I will show you up close what I did with some of the other parts quickly. So there's the hook, the ring I added, I mean. So I can take the pendulum off and on. And as you go up, I have my little, what I call striking area here. And I had this actually on this side, which was a bit silly, the curve. I had it over here, and I put it on the other side. I don't know why I did that, by accident maybe. Now up in here, this is mounted crooked. Don't ask me why. So I filed one side, I ground down one hole a little bit so that this is perfect, this nail is perfectly level. And I will flatten the other side now soon, just so that it can't pop out. And down in here I soldered this spring. So basically this area where the spring's being held, I soldered it to make it fixed. So it's only the spring that's moving now, so it's easier to adjust everything. So now we have it all running, and there you go. We have a clock with the pendulum. Actually, I'm better off pulling back and showing you again. There's the spring, and so you can see it's not moving up there in this section anymore where I had squeezed it. So I got that, basically that nail with the radio aerial and the copper wire. I got that all soldered in so that it has no movement anymore, which is much better. And I push this tab down on top here so it can't pop up and down. Much tighter, so it's more accurate, and then maybe the clock will hold its time better. And there you can see the way the pendulum arm strikes both sides of that bar there, which is important. And here it is running at the moment in the repair shed. Let's just hope it keeps running, and I'll be happy. I have sprayed my clock with WD-40 when I get it first, when it's all mucky, wash it out. But just so everybody is aware, I get some comments, like not so pleasant comments about doing that, but I wash it off with the solution afterwards and then put clock oil on. So, and it works. It cleans it out quite a bit. And the solution cleans it out the second time, and then they usually work. So, I mean, yeah, some people get upset that I can do it that way so easily, or that I'm not what do you call it, an actual clock expert. So, but I'm not pushed.